Today I get to introduce you to Ben Ptashinsky-Skinner, who is a comedian and an actor, but more importantly, Ben's a dad. Ben absolutely adores being a dad to their 7-year-old daughter. He and his husband used private adoption to create the family of their dreams, and we talk about that journey as well as parenting in a blue bubble in a state that's often thought of as being intolerant. Welcome to the Becoming Baby Ready podcast, your podcast for queer family planning. My name is Sam, and throughout this podcast, you'll hear me have conversations with professionals who work alongside people who want to start and grow their families, as well as parents of intentionally created families. Everyone I speak to identifies as being part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. This is your opportunity to learn answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Welcome, everyone. Today I am speaking with Ben Ptashinsky-Skinner, also known as Equity Ben. So welcome, Ben. I'm just going to leave it at Ben for now because it's easier to say that, and ask you to tell us who you are and about the members of your family.
Hi. I am Ben Ptashinsky-Skinner. The internet calls me at Equity Ben. I am a professional actor and comedian, and I've done that for a little over 20 years. But I stepped away from full-time performing to be a stay, or what I like to call a gay-at-home dad, with my husband, Aaron, and my amazing, fearless, and life-changing daughter, Charlotte. We are advocates for adoption. We are advocates for same-sex families, and we really try to show the world that we are the same as they are. We have the same struggles, and we hate our husbands just like they hate theirs.
Some days, right? And some days we love them and the sun and moon rise and shine on them, right?
Correct.
So when you and Aaron first started talking about having a family, was that early in your relationship? Had you been together for a while and thought maybe something was missing? How did that and when did that sort of come up for you?
We've always been very traditional when it comes to our relationship. However, it really wasn't until laws changed when we realized that that was something that could happen for our family. However, I stand behind the fact that because we had spent so much time, not only as a couple, but as a married couple, that we were ready to have a child. And I think that's why it is going so smoothly.
Fair. You had time to be a couple, and then you have time then to focus on being parents. So of all of the different ways that there are to create our families in the queer community, I get the sense that it's probably adoption based on what you said about being so supportive of adoption. But can you tell us, how did you make the decision about how to create your family? Because there are so many options available to us.
I think in the queer community, it's pretty split between surrogacy and adoption.
It is.
And for us specifically, we were looking at either foster or adoption or foster to adoption, one of those three options. We want to make sure our hearts want to take care of a child.
Right.
And we did not want to create a child to take care of. Now, I am not talking negatively about anybody's journey, but we wanted to take in a child that needed a home. And we went to an adoption agency literally after Googling gay adoption Orlando. And I fell in love with that agency. The head of the agency is a fabulous Jewish lawyer, and she is just so queer-centered and just like friendly with the queer community that I knew she was going to be on our side. And she paired us with the most amazing woman who wanted us to be the parents to her daughter. And we are still like this. And she actually had a son. My daughter has a brother that she has kept. And when she told us about that, there was a little lapse of judgment. We just assumed we were having another baby and she was keeping that baby.
Right.
And luckily, she wasn't able to read that in our faces, and we just misunderstood the situation. But we have an amazing relationship with them, with all of Charlotte's biological family,
Okay.
and we see them every summer. I rent this summer. I'm renting a big house where they are on the lake, and we're all going to have a big get together. And she stays with us for the week. It's just like this beautiful thing. She calls me when she needs things. I call her to say hi. We FaceTime. I mean, she's like a sister. Actually, I mean, certainly, hopefully my sister doesn't listen to this, but I think I might have a better relationship with Charlotte's mother than I do with my sister.
Well, sometimes not actually having blood makes it feel like better than blood or thicker than blood or something. I don't know. But I mean, that is a story that is not unusual that I hear that more and more from people that when they do investigate adoption, when they can, they do formulate a relationship with the parent who's chosen them to parent their child. The birthing person has chosen you for something in you. And so from that, it's easier to forge some kind of a connection in an ongoing way. It also helps both Charlotte and the person who birthed her to have questions answered along the way. So they're not sitting with these voids, because that's one of the things that you hear from people who are part of the adopted community, that they just have all these questions and they don't have a way to get answers for it. So
My mother is adopted, and all of our decisions were essentially based off of her trauma. And we are trying, obviously, Charlotte's going to be traumatized. Every single person on this planet is traumatized.
sure.
So we are trying to create the least amount of trauma for her to deal with
Mhm.
in hopes that she can look back at this time and think, wow, I had a great childhood. I, and she tells everyone this. I have a dad, I have a mom, and I have a papa. She has all three. We
Love
didn't
it.
take away from her.
Mhm.
And the only thing we just have no idea, nobody knows who her biological father is. Nobody. And that's not her mom's responsibility. That's not the agency's responsibility. And let's be honest, how many straight men out there, well, maybe even gay men out there are in the same boat? I mean, who knows? So
Yeah.
that's none of my business.
No, no. And all your job is at this point is to love your daughter to the best of your abilities, provide her with what she needs in this life, and offer her the security and the confidence to make the best decisions for herself going forward, which it sounds like you've given a lot of thought and energy to.
Every decision is Charlotte based,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. And so Charlotte is how old?
She's 7. She's in second grade, and she is the best person on earth. Sorry.
That you're allowed to feel that, and quite frankly, you should feel that way about your own child, right? You should feel that way about your own child. So she's 7. So did you meet her biologic parent before she was born, so that you've been a part of her life, her entire life?
Correct. So we were there at her gender reveal. Her mom lacked some support from her family at the time. It's
Right.
actually super great now. So
Excellent.
she may listen to this because we are close. So we ended up stepping into that position, taking her to doctor's appointments. And also, I'm not trying to paint myself as like a savior or anything because that's just not the case. But like financially, we helped support her in
Right.
all of those places when she was going through this, and she really didn't have anywhere to turn to.
Right. And and you want that for her through the pregnancy, because she's carrying the child that you're going to be parenting. So you want her to be her healthiest self, her most supported self. You want her not to feel as though this is another trauma that she herself has to face before she goes through the emotional difficulty, whether she's made that decision because she knows that it's right for her or not. There's still going to be an emotional difficulty in knowing I'm not keeping this child I'm birthing. I get to I get to share this with two people who desperately want this child and will love this child, but that's still a piece of herself that she's going to have to navigate.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's heartbreaking regardless.
Hmm.
But we've had very open and honest conversations about this. Her mother also gave away a child 4 years prior, and we all went out to dinner while we were up there this past summer. And her mom has her entire life together. She has her entire life together, and they both talk about how they really needed this their adoptions to be successful in life and happy in life for themselves.
Hmm.
I mean, everybody
Yeah.
has some sort of emotional toll to
Hmm.
get to happiness.
Right. When we're looking at creating families and we're doing it, in your case, you went through an adoption agency, it's not for free. Like if we look at the public system, then they cover lots of things in terms of costs and classes and things like that. You didn't have that opportunity to do that for free. Are you comfortable talking about how much money it costs to adopt a child, even just for agency fees and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, from like start to finish, at the time, it was about $40,000. And we were in the financial place to tackle most of that, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we're wealthy.
Mhm.
I was working full time, and then I gigged as well as, so I was a full-time actor under a contract, and then I gigged on the side, and then literally when I was not sleeping, I was driving Uber. So I and my husband had a full-time job doing the same. I mean, we were not going to go into this situation with debt because we wanted to make sure that our daughter had a bright future ahead of her. We
Mhm.
want to make sure that we're able to cover school for her. Wanted to make sure that she was always going to have food on the table. And so for us, debt was not an option.
Mhm.
And we didn't care how expensive it was. We were going to figure it out. I mean, anytime we got anything. Also, I was working full time at Disney under a contract.
Mhm.
And at the time, they provided a $6,000 credit. So part of that we got back.
Okay.
So we did get a $6,000 back. Now currently Disney offers, I believe, $75,000. So you can use that for the life you are with the company. You can use that either one time or multiple times. They cover with receipts the cost of fertility treatments or adoption costs or surrogacy costs up to I believe it's 75,000. I left the company so I could focus on my family, but
Mhm.
I believe that that has been a change. I will say at the time there was no paternity leave, so that was just dreadful.
Oh, so there was
I
no leave at all.
No leave. So what I ended up doing, and my husband did the same, is that we ended up basically just going to work sick for 2 years and saving every day that we possibly could. I mean, the flu, going to work with the
Mhm.
flu and getting people sick. I know it's awful, but that's what we did. And
Yeah.
then when we had our child, we had all of that time. And I went back to work with 2 days in my bank, and my husband went back to work with zero. And we just made it. I mean, by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
When our we had needed a different lawyer because there was an emergency with our birth mother, and she moved to Detroit because of that emergency. And so we needed a lawyer in Michigan. And so when
Right.
that Michigan lawyer called us, I broke down in tears. And literally the second later, I started packing the car. My
Right.
husband made dinner and I was packing the car and cleaning up and getting ready. And we left at 5 in the morning. And I'll never forget. I love Michigan because we're in Florida and it's very, very, very hot here, even though it's literally perfect right now, but it's very hot in the summer. So it was an
Right.
August day in Michigan. We packed the car and it was in the 40s. It was 49 degrees. And I thought, we will never see this weather again. And it was so not true because now we see it every summer because we go right around Charlotte's birthday.
Oh, nice. That is nice. And it is a nice, I mean, I'm not that far from Detroit myself. I think it's maybe a 3-hour drive from where I live. So
Yeah,
I
Detroit's like
understand.
right by the bridge.
I'm
Yeah.
closer to Buffalo, so I'm about 45 minutes from Buffalo. But Buffalo
Oh,
weather
I've
is
driven through
wicked.
there. Usually we've done from Detroit into Canada,
Yeah.
back into New York, through into Maine. That's how we did our drive 2 years in a row.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you probably literally drove. by my street. There you go. I'll wave next time. Just give a good honk and
Yeah.
I'll wave next time.
I don't know. My sister's getting a divorce, and so I don't know if we'll be going to Maine anytime soon again,
Mm.
but that, none of my business.
Nope, nope. Things happen the way they happen for whom they happen.
That's
That's
correct.
how we have to look at it. There, I guess I've got a couple of questions that come to mind. One is, what is it like to adopt as a queer couple in Florida? Because right or wrong, the perception of many of us outside of Florida is that it's a scary place to be for the queer community, or it can be a scary place to be for the queer community.
I assume that there's blue bubbles everywhere, and I do
Fair.
believe that the media paint the picture
Sure.
that they want to paint so that they could get the views that they want to view. So there must be some sort of truth to what they're telling you, but we have not experienced that.
Oh, good.
Aside from maybe the obvious mom and dad on forums,
Hmm.
like school forums and camp forums and things like that. Aside from that, honestly, I mean, we took Charlotte for preschool to the most prestigious school in the neighborhood, and it just happens to be a Christian school. And we sat down with the pastor, and I said, the first thing out of my mouth was, I just want to make sure that there's no issues, you know. And the pastor said, oh, we've had many, many, many gay couples here at the school. And I said, well, no, I wasn't concerned about being gay. I said, I'm concerned about being Jewish. And he said, well, the check will clear. So I knew that there wasn't going to be any sort of
Okay.
issue with that school. And honest to God, there hasn't been really anything. I had one issue. I do stand up and I produce my own show in town.
Hmm.
And I had one issue with a policeman who came to one of my shows, and everything was fine. But I
Hmm.
thought, well, that was weird. Nobody's ever been that rude to me. And literally days later, he was arrested at the Capitol for storming the Capitol, and he was fired from the police force. And now he is some sort of online pastor who
Oh.
just spreads anti-LGBTQ hate. So, I honestly don't hate anybody. If you have that much hate in your heart, you're tortured. You have to live with that.
Yeah.
Okay, good luck. I mean, I literally, the only people I hate are the people that don't put their shopping cart back, and I fix it by putting their shopping cart back for them. Then I don't have
It's
to
so
hate
true.
them.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true because hate begets hate. And so if we lead with a place of love and compassion and understanding, then that's typically what we get back, right?
I agree. I know my father is, listen, I love him. He's my father. I will never not love my father, but he is a piece of shit. And he is dealing with I've wanted to like do a post about this. I haven't quite wrap my head around how to talk about it, but he's dealing with such bad back pain. And the only way I can wrap my head around it is it's just karma because there's no other reason. He's
Hmm.
just so mean to people. And I just believe that maybe it's karma. And I just wish that he could see how he treated people because
Hmm.
he's a fun and nice person. And he just that does not come out of him at many, many times.
And that's hard to see. And as a parent, it's hard to have your child see because I mean, I can only speak for myself as a parent, but when my children see someone that I care about treating other people poorly or behaving in a way that I feel like I wish wasn't being modeled for them, then I feel almost like I need to diffuse things later on or debrief with the kids later
I
on.
I apologize if I cut somebody off in traffic or whatever, and I let that moment get because nobody's perfect, and I
Sure.
let that moment get to me. I tell my daughter, I'm sorry, I made a
Hmm.
mistake.
Hmm.
Please let's be honest. We all get like this.
Hmm.
Let's move on. Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry. Let's not let that be the picture that's painted of me. And that
absolutely.
I'm very honest with her, and she gets like that too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was like, well, I'll tell her sometime, wow, you are being very passionate about this. Can we take 6 minutes? Well, now it's 7 minutes. Can we take a 7 minute timeout in your room and take a breath? And
Hmm.
she'll usually comes out refreshed.
And sometimes that's all we need is for somebody to just break this cycle that we're in at the moment, put a stop to it by redirecting us somehow so that we can reclaim a focus. It's not always easy though, especially if you're both in it at the same time,
Correct. And I would
mutually.
also like just to point out really quickly to circle around back to your question that I do not know what it's like to be a trans person in any of these states. So
Mm.
if my privilege of being a white cisgendered man who just happens to be LGBTQ, if that place of privilege, I cannot talk
Sure.
for those people. So just to be clear, I don't know
Right.
what it's like to be trans. I don't know what it's like to be Black. I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I do know what it's like to be a cisgendered uh, uh, gay man in
Mhm.
Florida. And honestly, for me, it's not so bad. I think there is, unfortunately, I think it's just easier for me. And I try my hardest to fight battles for those people, but for me,
Sure.
it seems to be a little bit easier.
Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back. You know about babyREADY because you're listening to this podcast, so you know that we are all about queer family planning and helping you have the family of your dreams. But did you know that we don't abandon you once your baby arrives? We actually offer parenting coaching as well, and that's not just for the newborn phase, although we are there for that, but it's through toddlerhood and young children, tweens, and even through the teen years. When you need someone unbiased to lend an ear so that they can hear where your struggles truly are and help you come up with a path and a plan that feels truly right for you and your individual family, don't hesitate to reach out. We are always happy to be there for you. Visit us at www.babyready.info for more information. But that brings me to something. You mentioned that you try your hardest to fight battles for those people to help make the world a better place for them. Is that where you root Equity, Ben? Is that where it's come from, or what is Equity, Ben? Where does it come from?
I will say yes, but honestly, no.
Oh, okay.
I've been a member of the Actors Equity Union for over 20 years, and that's where it comes from. But honestly, when I pivoted into the gay dad lifestyle blogger on Instagram and TikTok, that kind of just worked in my favor.
Sure, sure. And it isn't a bad moniker to have your child see you have because by carrying that moniker, sure, it is something that started off in another space, but you have evolved and you have grown and that is sort of the working that you're doing in your online
And
presence now, and
honestly,
she can see that.
that's the headbutting that my father and I have. My
Oh, is that?
father is very conservative and right-leaning, and he does not necessarily believe in being equitable. And I
Mm,
think that there are certain battles that we should fight for other people. I
mhm.
think that there are certain people that will never get a leg up in this world without a little help from us. And I don't think it's fair that we don't help them.
No,
So
I agree. Yeah. No, but
we butt heads a lot.
that would be quite a conflict. But it is, again, it's another beautiful lesson for your child to see you
Oh,
fight.
this is a great example. Okay,
Yeah,
so there
yeah,
was no paternity leave for me,
right.
and I only got $6,000 to adopt a baby. And now I think they get like 2 months, men get 2 months
Hmm.
and $80,000. And you don't see me saying, well, fuck those people. They don't deserve it. Take it away from them. No, I think give them more.
Right.
Cover every single one of their children. And every time they have a baby, they should get a year off. And why
Hmm.
not?
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
that
true.
that's
It's true.
yeah, that's my opinion. I think everyone should help everyone.
Yes, that we build a better community by working together instead of in opposition to one another. It's definitely that it feels like it's so obvious that it shouldn't even be a question, but as you say, there's people that butt up against that for sure. It is neat though. I mean, yes, it was only $6,000 and there was no time off. Now there is time off and an increase in amount of money. And that's only because of the work that other people are doing. And one man I was speaking to last summer was talking about going to HR and talking about, what could be added to the insurance policies and programs within his company. And he said his company's response was, well, we didn't even think about that. But now that you've brought it to our attention, now we know that we can make changes.
I mean, you look at it this way, unemployment is at the lowest it's been in a very long time.
Right.
And companies are still struggling to fill positions.
Yep.
So you have to make it more lucrative for employees to want to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, then you will have trouble filling those positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why right now, employees are not on the chopping block. The people that are on the chopping block are poor leaders.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they should be,
Yeah.
because there's so many adjustments that they could make to make the workplace a better place for people. Just full stop, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Are there things that you wish that someone had talked to you about or told you about when it comes to parenting or going through the adoption process or anything before you actually got there? Um,
Adoption is 66% failed.
wow.
And sometimes upwards of 75%. So it is not an easy route.
Mm-mm.
IVF is not an easy route. Surrogacy is not an easy route.
No,
There is no easy route to parenthood.
no.
And I, not that it would have changed my decision, but I do wish that somebody would have told me that regardless of how my family was formed, someone was going to hate me for it.
Mm. Hmm.
I have been called all of the names. I've been called a pedophile. I've been called a faggot. I've been called a demon. And not even joking, literally every day. I have a large platform on TikTok. I have not as large, but somewhat large platform on Instagram. And every day there's something.
Do you think that as as a gay man, that as a gay man who's a dad, you are more likely to receive that kind of hate and vitriol compared to a lesbian mom?
I do. And I'm
Mhm.
not taking away their situation,
No.
but when they are in public by themselves, men in general in public by themselves with their children get looked at differently than women. Women
Yep.
will never get an eye batted at them in public. In public, men will, I often get, oh, mom's day off. I'll eat still.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, her mom's in Detroit and my husband's at home. I have no problem. I will put somebody in their place so quickly just by being honest, not by being
Right.
an asshole, just by
Right.
being honest.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
guy tell me, oh my goodness, she is so beautiful. Her mother must be gorgeous because you're not. And I said, no, her mother is gorgeous, but I'm also not biologically her father. I think it's very interesting that you would point this out in the middle of the grocery store, and he turned white, but all I did was state fact, just like he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it is astounding to me the people who feel like they have the right to have an opinion and state that to you.
Correct.
It's just,
Correct.
I don't know you, so why are we talking about
I don't,
this?
and I don't know where the gumption comes from, but some people
Right?
say the wildest things, the
Yeah.
wildest things.
Yeah. And and if you happen to be out with Charlotte and someone says something, then as a parent, then you're essentially in front of your child obligated to say something too. So even if
Well,
you're
and
like,
she knows
yeah,
she
well,
has a
this is she's
mom.
old. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she knows she has a mom. She knows that I'm not biologically her father. We've never told her there was a stork. We've never told her that, she was a magic angel from heaven that was given to us. We've just told everything we've told her is the truth. And
Yeah.
in my heart, she is the best child on earth. So when I tell her that every morning, it's what I believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Does she face anything? Because she's old enough now that kids are asking her questions and at school, or has it just been that she's always just at the school she's at, she's always had two dads, so nobody really That's a nine.
It's so funny to me because that's one comment that I get on social media all the time is that she's
Hmm.
going to be bullied. But
Hmm.
here's the thing, she's the bully, and your kid needs to be scared.
There you go.
I mean, I joke a little bit. She's actually the child with the biggest heart. So she fights the battles of
Sure.
the less fortunate. I mean, her
Hmm.
closest friend in her class is the special needs boy. And when they do a field trip, you will see the picture. The pictures is her taking care of that. Just because I don't know where she gets that from. Honestly, I'm not because I don't want to be like selfish
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
like paint this egotistical picture, but she is a helper
Right.
and she has girlfriends. Like she says, like me and the girls want to go and hang out at the park. And so I know she's very, not that this is a sign of success, but she's very popular in school. And we haven't
Hmm.
seen any of that yet. She's never come
Excellent.
home and said, this person said this thing. But
Right.
also, it's very normal. I have come to the class. I have talked about my husband,
Hmm.
but just, in the same respect that somebody would talk about their wife
Hmm.
in the classroom in the same respect that I sat down and told them about my career and I said this is what my husband does and da 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 and then the next
Right.
year my husband did the same thing.
Hmm.
So and I got hate for that one time and the lady said, well, I just don't think that should be happening in school. And I said, but I don't understand. The teacher talked about her husband and her husband was a police officer. And she said, well, that's okay because he's a cop. I said, so if I was a faggot cop, that would be okay.
Right.
It's like
Right.
this, the,
Right.
the things that click in people's minds sometimes don't make any sense.
No.
But I mean, people are going to hate no matter what.
And I think that that's the root of it, right? People just don't know how to shut that off in themselves if that's something they've
Correct.
always cultivated. They
Correct.
they just keep moving forward with that. I love though that one that she wants to help and be connected to anyone, and that she's not, and nor should she have any shame, but she's not ashamed to just do what she needs to do to make sure that everyone else, including herself, is happy and feeling successful. And she's helping the kid on the school trip who needs an extra pair of hands because that's just what a good person does. And that it is. I know I hear what you're saying when you say, I don't know where that comes from, but that's obviously been modeled for her that good people do
Well,
good things. And so, yes, yes, I'm patting you on the back, but it's she chooses to pick that up too, right? We can
I
see
know I've
people
said that
doing
to
good.
I've said when I feel guilty at night for
Mhm.
just, living as a gay man and
Right.
authentically. My husband, I say to my husband all the time, but we can't be bad people if we're raising a good person.
Mhm.
So the demons in my head that are telling me, oh, the anxiety, oh, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. I mean, I can't be that bad if my kid is so amazing.
No, no, and you can't be.
Right,
And
right.
that's 100% true. You just can't be. And she's the one that's has the opportunity to remind you that you are a good person. And that because some days are we feel defeated by just life in general because that's part of just living an adult life. And so when you see those good moments and you remind yourself that she's got to have good examples to be a good person, then those are the days that help pick you back up a bit too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I you mentioned that you do stand up. You do stand up around the Orlando area. If people want to come and see you, do you have like a regular gig that people could come and find you if they happen to be on vacation in your neighborhood?
Now I did, but I did step away from full-time employment to be a stay-at-home dad. And
Right.
I still gig. I mean, for instance, I work, one or 2 days a week at Universal as a comedic actor because I was realizing that Charlotte's in school full time and my mind was turning to mush. And so I still stay fresh. I still do Santa Claus. I still create content on social
Mhm.
media, but nothing I do is a 40-hour work week.
Right.
So I don't have maybe that consistency. So
Fair. Fair. So if someone happens to be at Universal and you happen to be there, then that's the win for them.
Then they got lucky,
There
right?
you go.
Correct.
There you go. I
Correct.
do think that there's something about being the Jewish Santa Claus, though, that there's
I'm
that's
I'm
I love
always
it.
available. I'm
I
always
love it.
available.
I do love it. Before I wrap up, before I let you go, can you tell me? I mean, I know that she's amazing, but what is your favorite part of being Charlotte's dad?
I love watching her grow up. She has become a person,
Hmm.
and it's so wild to my brain to see her learn how to tell a joke, to see
Oh,
her, oh, she's a genius.
love that.
To see her pick up the nature versus the nurture. Now, the beautiful thing is she has her mother's skin and her mother's smile and her mother's laugh. She has her mother's flavor profile, which is really fun. You
Oh,
know, you often don't get to take a child to sushi at 6 years old and have her order a spicy tuna roll. That is super wild to me.
that's awesome.
And also, she has no foibles when it comes to eating food. But my favorite thing, honestly, is filling my heart with her love. And she has this thing that she does every night where she goes, "Can you fill my heart with your love?" And we just place our chests together, hugging. And you just can feel each other's heartbeat and breath. And it's just this like beautiful moment of it's time to relax, it's time to settle down and go to bed. And the, you know, that's our moment. And
Yeah.
I will never forget that. And there's that stupid book that awful person wrote. I had it
What's
here
it called?
somewhere. Oh, it's that child book where it's the mother and says, "My baby will be,"
Oh, Robert
and sh
Munt, a
she, yeah,
Canadian.
and oh, really?
Yep.
Climbs into the room and climbs into his bedroom and
Yes.
holds him. Yeah, and always my baby will be in the
Yeah.
tears every time I read that book.
Yeah.
Finally, I had to hide it because I was like sick of crying before bed.
Love
But
it.
you read that book and you realize, oh man, I mean, I think if you are parenting even in the least amount of
Hmm. Hmm.
correctly, if parenting correctly, even like in the least bit, those moments will always be special.
It's true. And that book is so true. I have children in their 20s. They're still my babies. I would still
Oh,
rock them in
absolutely.
my lap if they could fit. They're just too
I
tall.
bought I bought a house with a detached rental, and right now that man is pretty much paying my mortgage. So God bless that man.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
bought it because we weren't sure if we were going to have a genius or a dud. And sometimes you
Right.
get it, in line, and
Sure.
there's no way, right?
Sure.
And we would do anything for Charlotte. And if that
Yeah.
means that she needs to live there for a few years to set herself up for success, so be it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You radiate how much you love your child and how much you love being a parent. And but that's a
It's
joy to watch and to listen
it's
to.
all I care about. It's all I care about. I mean, it's all I care about. That and getting a laugh.
Well,
And the best part with Charlotte is that it's often symbiotic. We get to do it together.
there you go. That's perfect. You can't beat
Yeah.
that. You can't beat that.
I know it's too early and I know you
Nope,
have to
it's all
go, but
good.
I know
It's
it's too early. But I like have these grand visions of being grandpa. Well, I want to be
Mhm.
called Honey. I love that
Oh,
name and I want to be called Honey. So I don't want to be called grandpa. I want to be called Honey and I can't wait to I am very excited for like the adult life where like we get to do cruises that might not have a fucking Mickey Mouse on it.
that
I
would be
love
so
them.
nice, right? So
I
nice.
love them, but Mickey gets to charge an extra $1,000 per person just
Right?
cause.
Yeah,
And I'm so
100%.
so excited to just do a cruise without Mickey. But also because I said to Aaron, I said, like at some point we won't be doing Disney cruises. And then this was on our last Disney cruise, which was just 2 weeks ago. And he said, aha, because we're on number 19. But he said,
Oh,
but he said, but then I was watching you tear up, but now I'm going to tear up. He said, but then we get to take the grandkids. And it's like,
Oh my
it's these
gosh.
stupid, like, little things when you grow up gay that you don't think you get to experience. And
Yep,
now I get to experience all of that stuff,
you
like the
sure do.
PTA and the grandparent, like all of it. I get to experience all
Yep,
of it.
yep, you do. And you're right. There is a piece that comes when we know that we're queer and we want to have kids, and we wonder for a period of time how those two are going to line up.
I am just very lucky that it all worked in my timeline because there
Absolutely.
are a lot of people that it didn't.
Yeah. No, you're
I
absolutely
was
right.
watching a video, and I know where we're going, I promise.
Guys,
I was
it's all
watching this
good.
video of this boy, and he is a senior in high school, and how excited he was to go to prom with his boyfriend. And I just wept. And I said, listen, I didn't get that, but I am
Mhm.
so thankful that you do.
Yes.
Because I went to prom with a girl and I had the time of my life, but I never got to do that. And I'm so thankful that you do. And I'm so thankful that the people that came before me that fought that fight have allowed me to have this life.
Sure. I fully agree. I fully agree.
And also, just to be clear, there are 143 million children on this planet right now that need a home. So, for all of those people that are saying that I shouldn't be allowed to be a father, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you not
Yep.
adopting a child? It
100%.
drives me insane because they
Yep.
don't do anything to help. The haters don't help.
No, they're too busy hating. They don't have time.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fully true. That's fully true. All right. I am going to say thank you very much for joining me today. I had such a great time chatting with you.
You're a lovely, wonderful person. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me on.
As a queer individual with colonial lineage, I want to first acknowledge the land upon which I live and work. Being from what is now known as Burlington, Ontario, I recognize the original ancestry of these lands as they span from Lake Ontario to the Niagara Escarpment and beyond. These lands are steeped in Indigenous history that benefits my community every day. The territory is mutually covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and other allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I stand is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. The land dictates everything about our ways of being. Particularly, the land teaches us about fluidity. Concepts of the binary system and heteropatriarchy were imposed by the colonials who were, at the same time, removing children from their homes, families, and all that was familiar to them. These same children were divided by the only two prescribed binaries recognized by the settlers, and they were forced to conform to a performative, gendered falsehood. The land doesn't operate under binary thinking. It is diverse, complex, and unpredictable at times. Rather, the land holds us and all of our remarkable pasts and identities. Every organism and spirit has a purpose. It is from this understanding that I strive to live and grow. Thank you for joining me today on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or you know someone who might, if you're a professional who works in the capacity of helping people start and grow their families, and you identify as being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community yourself, then please don't hesitate to reach out. We always have room for more stories to share, and there's always more learning to do.